What is up, DW Nation? It's your boy, Asante Grundy from the Disciples of Wrestling, coming to you guys with another Raw recap. I hope everyone had a great and safe Valentine's Day. And we're approaching Elimination Chamber this upcoming weekend. We had a gauntlet match that occurred last night on Raw and some good story movements. So I'm here to break it down for you guys. Let's do this. So starting off, we have The Miz TV with The Miz and his guest. We have the WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. And The Miz was just nagging and just taking jabs at Drew. And Drew has had enough. So what Drew does, he headbutts The Miz and then he just chucks his Money in the Bank briefcase and just walks off. And The Miz, he's obviously upset about that, but he drops a bomb on us and says that he is removing himself from the Elimination Chamber title match. And we'll see if this pays off for The Miz. I have more about this later on, but we'll see if it pays off for The Miz. So starting off with the first match of the night, we have Lucha House Party and Matt Riddle versus the Hurt Business. And this was a pretty good match. Shelton Benjamin started it off, and Hurt Business is looking good at the beginning because Shelton Benjamin is just dominating both Lucha House Party and Matt Riddle. But Matt Riddle and Lucha House Party, they both got hot towards the end, and they both wound up getting the win. And how it occurred is that it was Matt Riddle versus MVP, and Matt Riddle did the floating bro on MVP to seal the win for him and Lucha House Party. But then Bobby Lashley comes out and he just takes out Lucha House Party and Matt Riddle. And Bobby trying to prove why he's one of the top talents in all of Raw and the whole roster. And also, what this shows is that the Hurt Business is definitely very vulnerable. You just have to outsmart them and out-wrestle them. Because if you don't do those two things, it's going to be a long day for you. So next we have a segment with Adam Pearce and The Miz. And we're all trying to find out why The Miz removed himself from the Elimination Chamber. And he broke it down to Adam Pearce. The reason why The Miz took himself out of the Elimination Chamber title match is because he wants John Morrison to compete. Now, this could work out because John Morrison, he's a very talented wrestler, and this would be a great moment for him to get his shine. But Adam Pearce, being one of the officials, and he gets the say in most things, he tells The Miz, I'll consider it. So, we'll see if this happens or not, but there's more to this later on. But also, The Miz, it could pay off for him because he still has the Money in the Bank briefcase. So, we'll see what happens. So, during a segment with Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, we see Akira Tozawa and R-Truth going at it, but then R-Truth loses the 24/7 championship belt by getting pinned to Akira Tozawa. But then what happens is that Akira Tozawa loses the belt to Bad Bunny, and with the help of Damian Priest takes out Akira for Bad Bunny, and that was Bad Bunny's opportunity to seal the win and win the 24/7 championship. So now Bad Bunny is now the new 24/7 champion, and good for him as he's trying to build his clout in WWE. So great opportunity for him. So next we have a segment with Adam Pearce, Kofi Kingston, and The Miz. And it starts off with Adam Pearce talking with Kofi Kingston. And Kofi is pleading his case to be in the WWE Championship title match at Elimination Chamber because of The Miz withdrawing himself. But then out comes The Miz, and he doesn't like that idea because he's trying to plead for Morrison to get in that match. So Adam Pearce has had enough, and he says Kofi versus The Miz, and if Kofi wins, he will be in the title match at Elimination Chamber. But if The Miz wins, then John Morrison will be in the title match at Elimination Chamber. So this was just great planning by Adam Pearce at the last minute, and I have to give props to him. And also, this is good for Kofi to get back in the championship picture after just getting injured. So good for Kofi Kingston. So now we have our next match of the night. We have Charlotte Flair and Asuka versus Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans. And I was really enjoying this match until Lacey Evans gets tagged in and drops a bomb on us and says that she's pregnant, y'all, by Ric Flair. Now, clearly this is cap, y'all, because Lacey Evans ain't pregnant. This is only for the storyline, for those who don't know. But Lacey is pregnant by Ric Flair, and I guess that's just her excuse to just take herself out the match and just try to get the upper hand and play mind games on Charlotte Flair. So if it is a mind game, very well thought out by Ric Flair and Lacey Evans. But just a reminder, Lacey Evans is not pregnant, y'all. It's just for the story. So our next match, we have The Miz versus Kofi Kingston, and this match was a banger. It was very good. The Miz and Kofi were both very hungry for the W. They both wrestled their butts off, but Kofi Kingston actually came out on top by hitting the Trouble in Paradise on The Miz to get the win. And now Kofi will replace The Miz in the Elimination Chamber title match this weekend. And this is a win-loss situation for The Miz, because it's a loss because, one, he lost the match, and two, because John Morrison can't compete, which John Morrison, he needs to get the clout that he deserves, because he would make a great singles wrestler. But also, it's a win situation because The Miz still has the Money in the briefcase, and he can cash in anytime, anywhere, on anybody. So it's a win, but it's a loss. But we'll see how The Miz responds back to all this. So next we have a promo with Randy Orton, and he's just saying, like, I will win this gauntlet match later on, and I will be the last entry into Elimination Chamber. And going into Elimination Chamber, I will win the WWE Championship. Randy Orton still has his eyes on the WWE Championship. That's no surprise there. But then Alexa Bliss interrupts his promo, and she announces that The Fiend will be reborn in the future. And Lord knows when The Fiend will return. But it's WrestleMania season, so expect the unexpected. So our next match, we had Shaina Basler versus Lana. And Shaina Basler pretty much controlled this match from the jump. Lana showed great effort, but it wasn't enough for her to get the win. As Shaina, she executes the Karakuta clutch on Lana, causing Lana to tap out. And Shaina gets the win. And it was a good win for Shaina to avenge her loss from last week, because I know she didn't like the way she lost last week. So she had something to prove last night, and she definitely proved it. So Shaina got the W, and we'll see how Lana rebounds. So next we have a backstage segment with Adam Pearce and Braun Strowman. Yes, Adam Pearce was very busy last night during Raw, but this time it's with Braun Strowman, and Braun Strowman is not happy that he's not in the title match this weekend, and he confronts Adam Pearce about it. And Adam Pearce's explanation was that these are former WWE champions. You were a Universal Champion, so it doesn't make sense to put you in. And then pretty much Braun Strowman just threatens him, and as well as Shane McMahon, saying like, hey, if I'm not in this match, there will be some consequences. And knowing Braun Strowman, they're not going to be good consequences. But just a fun little fact, Braun Strowman has never won a WWE Championship on Raw. He's only won a Universal Championship, so that makes a difference. So next up we have our gauntlet matches, and I'm going to break them down one by one. And the purpose of the gauntlet match is to see who will be the last entry for the Elimination Chamber this weekend. So our first gauntlet match, we have Kofi Kingston versus AJ Styles. Now, Kofi is entering this match with a banged up knee. He hurt it earlier versus his match with The Miz. But going up against AJ Styles and his ring IQ, he's going to hurt that knee and try to take out Kofi by just keep damaging his knee. And that's what he does. And AJ Styles gets the win by hitting the phenomenal forearm on Kofi Kingston to get the win. I mean, Kofi still put up a great effort on AJ, but he just ran out of gas. And when you're up against a 100% healthy AJ Styles, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to win that match, especially when you're banged up. So next we have AJ Styles versus Drew McIntyre. And Drew McIntyre pretty much controlled this match from the jump. But AJ did have some moments where he was hot and he started beating up Drew McIntyre. But it just wasn't enough against pretty much Drew McIntyre, who hasn't wrestled all night until now. So Drew hits his famous Claymore and he gets the W against AJ Styles. Good effort for AJ, but it just wasn't enough. Now Drew McIntyre will face Jeff Hardy, and I will explain that coming up next. So now we have Drew McIntyre versus Jeff Hardy, and Jeff Hardy did a lot better than what I was thinking. He put up a great effort on Drew McIntyre, but no, I just knew Jeff wasn't going to win because it didn't make sense for Jeff Hardy to win and go on to face Randy Orton, since Randy Orton has unfinished business with Drew McIntyre. So I knew Drew was going to get the win, and he did, but Jeff put up an amazing performance. But Drew McIntyre, he will now face Randy Orton, so we'll see how this turns out. But great job to Jeff Hardy. He did his thing. So now we have Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton for like the 1,000th time. But this was very quick because Alexa Bliss appears to distract Randy Orton once again, costing him his match against Drew McIntyre. Randy Orton was out of the ring while Drew was in the ring, and Randy Orton gets counted out. So once he got counted out, Drew McIntyre does a Claymore on Randy Orton, and then it just ends right there. So now Drew McIntyre has one more opponent left, and he will face Sheamus. And the winner of that will get the last entry going into Elimination Chamber this Sunday. So now we have Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus in the final gauntlet match of the night. And pretty much Drew McIntyre just runs out of gas and he takes the loss on this one. It was a good match, but Drew just ran out of gas. Sheamus executes a brogue kick on Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus gets the win. And now Sheamus will be the final entry into the Elimination Chamber title match this Sunday. So we'll see if Sheamus can capitalize this weekend and win the WWE Championship. But great effort for Drew, cruising through Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston, and AJ Styles. So we'll see if Drew will be able to retain his WWE Championship heading into Elimination Chamber this Sunday. So there you guys have it. Another Raw recap in the books and another episode of Raw in the books. It wasn't the best closeout show, to be honest. I've seen way better closeout shows heading into a pay-per-view, but it really wasn't the best one. It was decent. But I'm Asante Grundy from the Disciples of Wrestling, and I want to thank you guys again for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, tell your family about us, because we enjoy doing these for you guys. So stay tuned next week for another episode of Raw Recap, and I'm Asante Grundy. Love you guys. Stay safe, wear your mask, and take care.